What do you love most about your life right now? Maybe it's playing a sport. Maybe it's excelling in a career. Just enjoying life. What would you do if it was all taken away from you? To live trapped inside your own body, unable to speak, walk, or do anything on your own. For patients with ALS, that is the life they have to live. But what exactly is ALS? ALS stands for amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. ALS is a gradual progressive disease that affects nerve cells in the brain and the spinal cord. Unfortunately, the decomposing of these motor neurons in patients with ALS eventually leads to their death. Some of the more well-known victims of ALS include Stephen Hawking, famous for his theories on black holes, as well as Yankee baseball player Lou Gehrig, for which the disease was nicknamed Lou Gehrig's disease. Some of the symptoms of this disease include the loss of the ability to walk and to move their arms and hands, the loss of the ability to speak and swallow, as well as uncontrollable fits of laughing and crying, twitching and cramping of muscles, and difficulty breathing. The cause of death of most patients with ALS is the failing of the diaphragm, the organ which permits our lungs to breathe. When this happens, the victim then suffocates to death. ALS does not affect the mind in any way, shape, or form. Essentially, this means that victims of ALS are held prisoner in their own bodies, fully aware of everything that is happening.
Helen King. Judy King was my awesome mom. She was caring, generous, funny, gracious, and a very determined lady. She had ALS. Early on in the course of her disease, she lost the ability to speak. She never liked computers, and so chose to write down all that she had to say. One day, a few weeks ago, I was sitting with my son Brennan, reading through one of my mom's books. I came across an entry where she talks about not wanting to use some new piece of equipment because she did not want to admit that she was getting worse. Brennan and I cried, and I said to him, "Someone has to find a cure for this disease." The thing is, I know the cure exists. I believe that there is nothing more powerful, not even ALS, than our positive thoughts.
Derwin Cadeau. I had a funny feeling from the first time I had a cramp in my leg that it was ALS. I remember telling my mom I had cramps, and when I started limping on my right leg, she would always say, "It can't be ALS, you're only 26. You see, ALS runs in my family. My grandma, one of my aunts, and two of my uncles all died from ALS. I also have an aunt living with ALS right now. My mom thought I was too young, and I guess she was praying that I would not have it. I'm 26. I'm embarrassed to ask for help. Every day I notice a change in my body, and with this I rely more and more on my mom and a few close friends. I can no longer shave, bathe, or toilet myself. I know my mom will comfort my son as he grows up and let him know how he was loved. She will show him photos of me when I was little, and then photos of him and me together. I know she will always be a part of his life. When he graduates from 8th grade and wants to go on his first date, I hope she'll give him a bottle of Jupe cologne and tell him that it was his daddy's favorite. She will save some of my old ball caps for him to wear and give him the cross that I wore around my neck. Some mornings I wake up and feel great. I hear my mom and her boyfriend talking. I smell the coffee brewing and the sun is warm on my face. It's not until I go to move my legs that I remember I have ALS. I'm so frustrated. My voice is so weak that I find it hard to talk, and others are finding it hard to understand what I want. I roll my eyes to gesture yes or no. My friends are not calling as often. I guess they find it hard to hear me, and I imagine it's hard for them to talk to me. What can you say to a friend that's dying and not able to move? How are you? What have you been up to? The calls have become less frequent.
Kayla Griffin. My aunt, Sandy Hermanson, was just one of those people who could get along with anyone. She was this fun, adventure-loving, quirky aunt who always had time to hang out with me. We would do everything, from playing with her golden retriever Wilson to making smoothies and having it all over the kitchen, even on the ceiling. Today, there is still a dark pink strawberry smoothie stain on their kitchen ceiling that she refused to clean off because she said it reminded her of me. I was 10 when she was diagnosed with ALS. I didn't really understand what it meant, but it had something to do with why her neck and back surgeries never worked. As I got older, I understood more and more the hopelessness of this disease. I'd watch her get weaker and weaker, but I tried to keep a happy face and made sure to always remind her that she would get better. She had to get better. She lived in Illinois, so every school break I had was automatically at her house. Probably wasn't most kids' idea of fun, but we would go shopping, visit with her friends, and mostly just sit and talk. She slowly lost her voice, so that her close friends and her family, including me, were the only ones who could understand what she was saying. My aunt and I got closer than ever. I would read to her, talk to her best as I could, just wanting to spend as much time with her as I could. She refused to receive nourishment through her feeding tube, so once she stopped being able to swallow, that was it. The last time I saw her, all she could eat were runny eggs and Jell-O. It got even worse after I left. On August 27th, 2011, at 3:11 a.m., Aunt Sandy died, with her husband and brother around her, asleep in her bed. At the time, I was packing, hoping that I could see her one last time to tell her that I loved her. No one else should have to go through the pain and suffering felt by ALS patients and their families. Luckily, several advances have been made in finding a cure. Annual walks held by organizations like the ALS Association and the Les Turner Hope for a Cure have raised millions of dollars for research. In early August of 2011, researchers at Northwestern University reported that they found the cause of some types of ALS. There's still a long way to go until we find a cure. Helping out can be as simple as participating in the annual walks. Every penny counts. If we work together, we can make sure this never happens again. Will you fight?